Hi everyone, welcome to Traveling in Peru's Virtual Experiences. My name is Roy and I will be your virtual guide today. With 20 years of experience, traveling and living in Peru is dedicated to provide news and travel information about Peru. I'm providing unique and exceptional experiences about Peru, both virtually and in person. I'm a tour guide with over 12 years of experience, and I am delighted to take you on this virtual guiding experience to one of the most important attractions in Peru, the Lake Titicaca. To start, Lake Titicaca is probably one of the most famous lakes in the world. It's famous to be the highest navigable lake in the world because it's located at 3,812 meters above sea level. Those are 12,500 feet approximately. For us, the Peruvians, is very well known as the place where the Inca Empire started. But what is that other name really means? The highest navigable lake in the world. Because it's very easy to confuse that name with the highest lake in the world, which is not. The highest lake in the world, by the way, is a small lake called Ojo del Salado, in the top of a volcano in Argentina and Chile, at almost 21,000 feet, 6,400 meters above sea level. But Lake Titicaca is famous for the incredible navigation story. This is a very short but very nice story to tell. The first steamboat who sailed Lake Titicaca was the Javari. But the amazing of this story it was with the transportation. The Peruvian government in 1861 asked to the British company two steamships, the Javari and her sister Japura. So the English engineers decided to build the first one in England, and the ship traveled all through the Atlantic Ocean, but in that time the Panama Channel it didn't exist yet. So they used the coast of Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and then finally arrived to the Peruvian coast. That journey took 2 years. But that was actually the start of the real adventure. In those years, in Peru, it didn't exist any kind of transportation. No train, no roads. So the ships were disassembled, and in more than 2,000 pieces, in mulas bags and after llamas, they crossed all the Andes in a journey that took 3 years. Some pieces get lost on the way or stalled, but finally they arrived to Puno City in the shores of Lake Titicaca. After that, the English engineers assembled all the pieces again back together, and the ship finally sailed Lake Titicaca in December 25th of 1870 at 3 p.m. according to the records. A funny fact about that ship was that in that time in Lake Titicaca there were not enough coal for the engines, not enough trees in that time. So a lot of llama dung was collected by the local people, and that was used to power the engines. So that was not the end of the story. More ships arrived to Lake Titicaca, but those arrived faster because the train rail that the English people built it years later. The boats were used to transport people and minerals through the Lake Titicaca. Getting back to the lake, the Titicaca Lake is quite big. It covers an area of 8,560 square kilometers. Those are 3,300 square miles. It's the second biggest lake in South America, just after Maracaibo Lake in Venezuela. Lake Titicaca is shared with Bolivia since 1825, when this country gets their own independence from Peru. So the lake now is 60% to Peru and 40% to Bolivia. It's funny, of course, that if you visit Bolivia, the Bolivian moves the border, and they say 60% is for Bolivia and just 40% for Peru. This is a very common joke between us because the border is just shown on maps. The Lake Titicaca doesn't have any physical border, and nobody controls that border. Now, Lake Titicaca is also a very deep lake, having a gradually depth going from 50 meters around the shores and 200 meters as a maximum in the middle of the lake. The average depth in Titicaca is 100 meters. Another interesting information is the temperature of the lake. The maximum in the summer is 14 Celsius or 57 Fahrenheit. And in the winter, the minimum is 6 Celsius. Those are 42 Fahrenheit. The average temperature in Titicaca is 9 Celsius or 48 Fahrenheit. To put it in simple words, it's not a lake for swim. Continuing with the nice facts about the lake, we need to mention the important thermoregulator effect of the lake. That is very important for people and the life around the lake. The lake, as any other big amount of water, it absorbs all the heat from the sun during the day and returns this into the land during the night, creating a nice microclimate effect. That means that the temperature never cools down too much during the night. Finishing the information about the lake, I want to show you this satellite picture of the lake, taken by the NASA in 1968, and how this is related with the theories about the name of the lake and the meaning of the lake. There are different pronunciations of the name of Titicaca in the many different languages spoken in the area. In Spanish is Titicaca. In Quechua is Titicaca. And in Aymara, the word sounds Titicaca. So, in these different languages, the meaning is quite different. For the Quechua people, the word titi means the puma of the Andes, or the wild cat that we have in the mountains. And the word caca means a rock or a stone. For the Aymaras people, the word titi also means puma or the Andean wild cat. But the other second word, jaja, means the gray color of something. Analyzing the translation, we can say that both languages are describing an animal. But how this is related to the satellite picture? Well, since we have access to the real shape of the lake, the people started to see a puma shape on this picture. To see it, we need to put upside down the map, and that's how ears, head, front legs, and a kind of tail appears. With a lot of imagination, we can see a jumping puma on the map. The question is how the ancient Peruvians discovered the shape of the lake without airplanes or satellites. Well, we have the same mystery on the coast of Peru with the famous Nazca lines. Huge figures of mostly animals, just possible to see it from an airplane, from the sky. Still a mystery unsolved. How? But we have pumas in Lake Titicaca. What we really actually have is this Andean wild cat called Leopardus jocobita, a beautiful animal that lives on the mountains around the Lake Titicaca. It's a predator. Chase their prey during the night, and the prey are rabbits. But these rabbits are funny with a long, kind of a squirrel tail. These are the famous vizcachas, another beautiful animal from the Andes. Now, I will take you into these very interesting topics, finishing with a very nice pop quiz. First, the floating islands. Second, the rocky island of the Lake Titicaca, Taquile and Amantani Island. The fish and birds of the lake, The other topic is the geoformation of the Lake Titicaca, the legend of the first Incas, and the monster of the Lake Titicaca. Finishing, of course, with this pop quiz. Let's start with the floating islands. They are a group of many artificial structures located at 8 kilometers from Puno City, in a place called the Reed Beds. Nowadays, there are approximately 90 floating islands, but the number is not constant. The islands can combine, separate, or deteriorate over time. The population who still live there are called Euros. They are 1,500 people, but there is another 500 people who live in the mainland. There is not too much information about their origin, but the anthropologist says that they could be an old group of pre-Inca people forced by the Incas' invasions to escape on boats from the mainland into the lake. After that, they discovered the way to build their own islands, using the resources that the lake provides. The building of the islands are entirely made with the reeds that grows nearby. In every island, there are around 5 or 7 families, 25 or 30 people approximately. They can be just one family, or related, or just friends who decided also to live together. They still live sharing everything, food, work, but no wives. The main material to create the flotation are the roots of the plant, something called from these people kili, which is a very dense block of tangled roots that if they cut them from the lake, they can float for years. To maintain the roots in good conditions, they need to spread fresh reeds on the top surface every 3 weeks. That activity keeps them busy most of the time during the day. Every day, early in the morning, at 5 a.m., the men took their boats and go into the reeds through their fishing nets, collecting eggs, and then cut down some reeds. The women cook and take care of the family. Nowadays, of course, a new activity came to rescue them, the tourism. Since 1980s, the Uros people opened their peculiar way to live to the visitors. That offers an opportunity to sell their amazing handicrafts made out of reeds. Thanks to that opening, the people have now access to education, sanitation, and medical assistance. Okay, the next topic is the rocky island of the lake. There are more than 40 natural islands in the lake, including the Bolivian side. But the most famous in Peru are Taquile and Amantani. Let's start with Taquile. It's the third biggest island in the lake, with 5.5 kilometers long and 1.5 kilometers wide. In total, 6 square kilometers. It is famous because of their men kneaders and the ladies weavers. In 2005, UNESCO declared the island intangible cultural heritage of the humanity. The textiles in Taquile are not just simple textiles. They are part of a complicated secret language. Let's start with the idea that every person in the island knows how to knit or weave. It's something sometimes more important than reading or writing. They start very young. At 6 or 7 years old, the parents are in charge of this learning. The father teaches the boy how to knit. The first textile that the boy learns to knit is a white, simple bun hat. But with the pass of the time, it turns into more and more complicated designs. The same happened with the young girls. The mother, in this case, is a teacher. They start with a simple wristband and then finish with a long, complicated belt. But this is just the beginning. They have one of the most beautiful and symbolic ways to show love, loyalty, and their feelings between couples. I'm talking about the wedding belt. It is an amazing work of weaving. Takes 5 months to finish it because it's all handmade weaving. The wife in this case makes this for their husbands. The belt consists in 2 different parts. It has an inside and an outside part. The first part is the decoration, where the wife, using a symbolic language, includes all their feelings and desires for the marriage life. A funny thing is that with the new ideas that the modern world brings to the island, some symbols are changing, evolving, like this fancy sport car, for example. Now, the second part could look very simple compared with the other. But this is the part where the ladies show all their love, loyalty to their husbands. This amazing part contains, in the inside, the wife's hair. She cut it all before the wedding as a symbol of love and loyalty to the husband. A sacrifice that can be done just once in their lives. The husband will use this as a symbol of respect and love, explaining to friends and family when it means in a special occasion. Another fascinating part of Tequila's tradition is the system how the men show if they are available. I mean, if they are single. It's very simple. We just need to look their hats. Half white and half red colors for the single ones, and completely red color for the married ones. That made it very simple for girls. But how about the ladies? How the men can know? Well, in this case, the ladies, as always, everything is a mystery. Now is the time for the Amantani Island. It's the second biggest island in the lake, just after the San Island in Bolivia, which is the biggest. And it's almost a round island, with 4 kilometers long and 4 kilometers wide. Total 10 square kilometers. In Amantani live 4,000 islanders, with a very peaceful kind of life. The main activities in the island are the farming of the land, the cattle raising, and the fishing of trout. Living on the island has their own challenge. For example, the building. There are approximately 800 houses in the island, and all of them were built themselves using just mud bricks for this. The same farmers are the architects and the engineers. For the few products that they cannot obtain from the island, the women need to sail 1 hour into the mainland twice a month to get them. Now, the most beautiful tradition that they still preserve from the ancient times is the festival on the top of the mountains. This happens before the plantation season, when many people from the many different communities start a procession to the top of the island, where a temple called Pachatata is located, built for the pre-Incas people 800 years ago. After the local music and dancing, all of them eat and share together the potatoes that every family planted the last season. During the same night, the shaman of the island prepared an offering to the gods. This consists in coca leaves, animal fat, sugar, and other plants, part of the ancient ritual. After that, the shaman burns all these, and later, if everything goes right, they will be blessed with a nice good production to the next harvest season. Well, after those amazing islands, plenty of traditions, our next topic is the fish and the bird of the lake. We have many varieties of fish in the lake, but most of them very small. The most common type in the lake are the orestias, or in the local language is called karachi. It's a very small fish with no more than 12 centimeters long. It's very small but very tasty in soups. We just need to be very careful with the many bones that it has. The biggest endemic fish of the lake is the catfish, or suche in the local language. It can grow until 20 centimeters long. Unfortunately, doesn't have any good flavor. The other popular fish in the lake is the trout, but this fish is not originally from the lake. It was introduced from Canada in 1940s. Trout can grow more than 30 centimeters and is a very commercialized fish for the local people. In Puno City, it's a very important part of the diet of people. Another fish who also was introduced to the lake in 1980s from Argentina is the silver side, or pejerrey. This is another tasty fish of the lake that can grow around 30 centimeters again. But the biggest problem with these two exotic species is that they are considered predators because they eat the local fish from the lake, and in the future the extinction of the local types is a big concern. Continuing with the birds of the lake, I would like to introduce you the only endemic bird from the lake Titicaca, the Titicaca grebe. It's a flightless bird that is common to see around the shores of the lake. The other type of grebe that is possible to see in the lake is the silver grebe. This grebe can fly, so they migrate from the south of the continent, and it's very difficult to see, a treasure for the bird watchers. The other popular bird from the lake is the Andean coot, a big bird of 40 centimeters tall that live and nest on the reeds. It's very appreciated for the Uros people who consume it as a chicken. In Titicaca exists many types of ducks, but the most beautiful is the ruddy duck, very characteristic bird with a blue peak. Just the male shows that color that is used to attract their couples. Now, one of my favorite birds, the many-color rush tyrant. This bird has beautiful bright colored feathers, but is famous to be the bird who predicts the rain. This is all because the birds build their nest on the top of the reeds, and they can anticipate the rise of the water level of the rainy season. That means that if the birds build a nest close to the lower part of the plant, the next rainy season will be not so intense. On the other hand, if the nest is located on the very top part of the plant, the rainy season will be good and intense. Every year the farmers look for those nests, and then they can have an idea about when the plantation should start. Finally, a very well-known bird, the flamingo. This pink-colored bird visits Lake Titicaca in the warmer months. I know what you're thinking. That flamingo is not pink enough. This is because this is a variety called Andean flamingo, and the pink color is just in certain parts of the body. The problem is that in Lake Titicaca there is not enough artemias. Artemias, or brine shrimps, are very small crustaceans that live in salty waters around the world. They are a rich source of beta-carotene, and that's what it gives the pink color to the flamingo's feathers. Our next topic will be the geoformation of the lake. It's very interesting to imagine how the Lake Titicaca was formed. For this, we need to go back in time, millions of years ago, until the supercontinent Pangaea, when all the continents were just one. According to this idea, there was a slowly separation of the tectonic plates, and this formed the continents that we know nowadays. As you can see, South America and Africa split, opening up the South Atlantic Ocean between them. Because of this, something happened in South America. The compressions of the plate pushed up the Andes Mountains, and at the same time, a big portion of the ocean water filtered into the land. That means that there was a time when South America had a big ocean in between. But what happened with that ocean? It gets evaporated after thousands of years, of course. That's why we have salty deposits all around Peru and South America. Now, this is a satellite map of the lake. So according to the geologists, all this section was also covered in salty ocean water. So the lake was bigger and salty. But again, the sun evaporation moves all the salty water into Bolivia, into the famous salty desert of Uyuni. The many rivers who flows into the lake filled it with fresh rainy water, and that's why Titicaca is not salty lake. But don't forget that there was a time when Titicaca was a huge salty ocean. The next topic is the legend of the first Incas. It's a very famous story about how the Inca Empire started in Lake Titicaca. So well, the legend starts like this. One day, the Inti, our god son, was looking to the air, very sad, because he was looking at his people fighting. There were many wars for land, food, and the people didn't understand each other. So the god decided to send to the earth a couple of their sons. These were Manco Cápac and his sister Mama Ojlio. They were humans, but with special abilities and skills. According to this legend, the couple came out walking from a city in the bottom of the lake. The god's son gave to Manco Cápac a golden scepter with instructions to look for a sacred mountain where the scepter would sink, and that will be the perfect land to start the biggest empire of the sun. Manco Cápac tried first in the many mountains around the lake, but all the mountains were very rocky. So finally, he decided to go north into the green valleys of Cusco. And finally, he sunk the scepter in a sacred mountain. That now we call it Machu Picchu. Thanks to the advanced knowledge in agriculture and engineering of Manco Cápac, and of course all the skills in medicine and science that Mama Ojlio, the Incas became the biggest and the most powerful empire in South America. But what was that scepter that guided Manco Cápac? For some people, that contains a high technology that the aliens gave to the chosen one. For some researchers, Manco Cápac could be a person abducted, took it as a trainee for a very advanced civilization who still live in the bottom of the lake. Who knows? That could explain all his secret knowledge and mysteries. But that, of course, is just theories and hypotheses. But how we have access to these and many other famous legends of the Incas? We need to mention for this an important half-Spanish chronicler of the 16th century, the Inca Garcilaso de la Vega. This man wrote his best-known work, the Comentarios Reales de los Incas, and it was based in oral stories told by his Inca relatives when he was a child in Cusco. But now I have one tricky question for you. Who is the most famous Inca? Maybe it's the first Inca, Manco Cápac. Or maybe you heard about Atahualpa. The answer is the Inca Cola. This is a yellow soft drink with a bubblegum flavor, and it's still the most popular drink in Peru, even more than Coca-Cola. Unfortunately, Coca-Cola Company decided to buy it in 1999, so no more competition. Well, now is the time that maybe many people was waiting for. The story of the monster of Lake Titicaca. Every lake has one. But this story is different than others because many people expect something like the Loch Ness monster story. But the Titicaca monster was catalogued and confirmed by the science. The one who discovered and called it the monster of the lake was this man, Jacques Cousteau. In 1970s, he came with his team to Lake Titicaca and in order to explore the bottom of the lake with his yellow submarine, the Calypso. He heard the story of the mythical city of the gods in the lake. Unfortunately for him, after 3 months of work, he couldn't discover what he was looking. But instead, in his many immersions, he saw this animal. A huge frog of 20 centimeters, just the body. For him, this was a real monster frog. And it looks a little like a monster. His big eyes and mouth and raw skin. And the many colors and textures made it very curious species of frog. Now, what it makes it really special is their size. With 50 centimeters long and 1 kilo of weight, it makes it one of the largest frogs in the world. Another special characteristic is that they swim all their lives in the lake, never come out to the surface. They are completely aquatic, and by the way, is the only type of completely aquatic frogs in the world. The biologists discovered that this unique frog, officially called for them Telmatobius culeus, uses his prominent skin fold and wrinkles to absorb the oxygen that they need through the skin with something called cutaneous respiration. Unfortunately, since 1990, the frogs are being captured in cages in massive quantities to be used in the wrong called Andean medicine. People in the mainland believe that if they consume the frogs, they can treat problems in the lungs or asthma and a long list of diseases. The most unusual system of preparation consists in put the whole frog in a mixer and then turn into a juice and then drink all this. I know, it's disgusting, but there is a lot of people who do it. The other form to consume it is dry, in soups. In some markets it's still possible to find them. The bad news are that his depredation and consumption turns this unique frog into an endangered species. Now, Bolivia and Peru have very strict controls and laws to preserve the species. Good news for the frogs. Final thoughts. We'll learn a lot of information about the highest navigable lake in the world, Titicaca. Please share what you learned here with your family and friends. Second, thanks to the isolation of the islands, wonderful people and traditions can be preserved over time, and we hope that they can last forever. Third, there are many other mysteries hidden in legends and myths. The truth is out there. Fourth, there are incredible animals sharing the lake with people, so we need to respect each other because we are both part of a cycle. Well, now I invite you to enjoy this final activity, the pop quiz. This will be 5 simple questions, so please grab a piece of paper and answer in the following. Question number 1. How Lake Titicaca is best well known? A. The deepest lake in the world. B. The highest navigable lake in the world. C. The largest lake in the world, or D. The highest lake in the world? I know that you know this. So the answer is the highest navigable lake in the world. Question number 2. What is the name of the people who live on the floating islands? A. Euros, B. Quechuas, C. Incas, or D. Aymaras? The answer is A. The Euros people. Question number 3. What color is the hat for the married men in Taquile Island? A. Red, B. Black, C. Blue, or D. Green? Very easy. The answer is A. Red color. Question number 4. What the god's son gave to Manco Cápac to search with this the land of the future Inca Empire? A. A cell phone, B. A sword, C. A golden scepter, or D. A bird? The answer is the letter C, a golden scepter. It was very easy. And the final question. What is the animal called the monster of Lake Titicaca? A. A dinosaur, B. A snake, C. A shark, or D. A giant frog? Very easy. A giant frog. Well done. If you want to discover different lifestyles where the technology is still unknown, if you are an animal and nature lover, if you would always dream to walk on sacred Inca places, Titicaca is the best place for you. Please do not lose the opportunity to visit the most incredible lake in the world and the amazing people who still live there. But if the altitude scares you, as the Titicaca people will say, don't worry, this land is closer to heaven. If you want to visit Peru, the Titicaca Lake, and other places with me, you can contact Traveling in Peru via your friend